kept her head down, and spoke. But beneath the oversized vest and trembling hands, Eleanor carried a secret. A history she'd been running from since she was a child. She moved, dining with the silent phantom. She refilled wine glasses without interrupting conversations about inside trading. She replaced silverware. Diners even realized they had dropped it. She was excellent at the job specifically, because she had no ego. Did you hear Dor? Chef, a frantic man named Benoit, whispered as Eleanor entered the kitchen to grab a tray of appetizers. The old man is coming tonight, not just Lorenzo, Don Salvatore. The kitchen went quiet. The line cooks stopped chopping. Even the dishwasher paused. I thought he was in Sicily, one of the runners muttered. I thought he was dying. Men like Salvatore Moretti don't die, Benoit said, wiping his brow. They just wait for hell to freeze her and take over management down there. Listen to me. Everything perfect. If the risotto is salty, we are dead. If the steak is cold, we are dead. The lady picked up the tray of oysters. The hands bending unlikely. She was on the didn't care. Otto. They cared about his fate. He walked back out onto the floor. The atmosphere was better than usual. It was subtle, like the drop in barometric pressure before a tornado. The regular billionaire, tech moguls, the hedge fund managers were hurriedly asking their checks. They knew the hierarchy of predators. When the lions were coming to the watering hole, the gazelles cleared out. Elena cleared a table in back, her eyes flickering toward the front entrance. She felt a strange pull in her chest, a mixture of dread and a bizarre magnetic nostalgia. It had been years. Accident, child. Elena. Arthur snapped his fingers across the room. The back station, now. Stay out of sight. She retreated to the shadows at a service station, clutching a water pitcher. She made herself. She watched the floor. At 8:07 p.m., exactly the heavy door swung open. They didn't just open, they seemed to. There were men in dark suits entered first. They wore earpieces. Synchronized lethality for Wolfpack. They scanned the room, their eyes lingering on the exit of the kitchen, the guests. Then they stepped aside. Lorenzo Moretti. He was undeniably striking tall, with shoulders filled out with oak Brioni suit, and a face would have graced the cover of DQ, but terrifying golden eyes. He was the prince of beauty, the man who had modernized the talent, turning bloodline into his eyes, being born danger, incredibly quick. But the room was immense. Yeah, well, was the man who got it wrong. Don Salvatore Moretti was small, shrunken by age. His presence flooded. He wore a fedora, long cashmere coat. His face, the man with a candle, and scars telling stories of Sicily that no longer existed. Sicily, Honor's island, blood fused. He walked with cane. Everyone knew. later tonight. Dialect, she said. The language of it. Carrying the weight of the old country with any force. Bodyguards took positions at the doors. Lorenzo sat on his father's right. Arthur sat on the wheels. And Sir Elliot, after a young outlet had Chad rushed forward, winding. Elena felt cold, hinted at fight. Chad was cool enough filling champagne to the voice. But he didn't know. He didn't know that he never approached the table gone road in advance. He didn't know never on the wind after before the father. Chad stepped up to the table, the bright plastic smile on his face. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Chad, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start us off with sparkling water, or perhaps a cocktail?
No,
Salvatore slowly took off his hat. Then he
Or
brought the empty chair beside him.
There
He
you
looked at
go.
Chad. He didn't speak. Lorenzo sighed, rubbing his nose. Just water. And bring the wine with me. Chad, fundamentally misunderstanding this dynamic trouble. Actually, sir, we have a fantastic Pinot Noir that pairs excellently with the boy, Salvatore. His voice was like a grinding. Do I look like I drink Pinot Noir? Chad froze. I'm sorry, sir. We're just next. Go now. Salvatore waved a hand, a dismissive gesture. They dogs. Chad paled, backed away. Arthur watching from the sidelines. Looked like he was about to have a stroke. Please, Chad, get out of there. Then Dominic. Dominic Horses, waiter buttoned his jacket, approached. With a look, and he grinned. approached, but the mood was already ruined. Salvatore was frowning, tapping his fingers on the white tablecloth. The rhythm was erratic, agitated. Elena watched, unable to play. She knew then. It wasn't just tapping. He was agitated, because the air in the restaurant was too recycled. The music too modern. Respect too synthetic. He was a man out of time, and he hated it. He wants bread, Elena whispered. No, but not the sourdough. He wants the hard crust. She saw Dominic. Water. He poured from the left side. Elena looked. Wrong side. Salvatore's hand shot out and gripped Dominic's wrist. Blur. The water pitcher rattled. In my house. Salvatore said his voice, rising, silencing again. You pour with the right hand. The left hand is for the devil. Dominic stammered, terrified. I apologized on the ready. Just restaurant policy. Policy. Salvatore slapped his hand on the table. The cutlery jumped. I come here for dinner, not for policy. You treat me like a tourist. You think I am some American tourist. Lorenzo placed a hand on father's arm. Papa, basta. Fine. It is not fine. Salvatore's face reddening. This place has no stop. Has no method. Worse. God, this battle. Fine. Paralyzed. Purity. The tension is a complete crushing. And then she didn't calculate. Her body moved. She grabbed a basket of the rustic, hard crust of bread that was reserved for staff. Stuff that was actually authentic. A bottle of simple vodka. She walked out of the shadows. The click of Elena's sensible work shoes on the marble floor sounded like gunshots. And she could feel Arthur's eyes boring into the back of the skull. He was going to fire her. He was probably going to kill her. She couldn't let the old man leave angry. It wasn't just about the restaurant. It was a deep, ancestral imperative. You did not let a guest leave your home with a heavy heart. She bypassed the security guards. One of them, a massive man with a scar over his lip, stepped in to block her path. Elena didn't stop. She looked him in the eye and tilted her head slightly, a gesture of deference, but determination. I have bread, she whispered. The guard hesitated. We saw no weapon, only a small, trembling wick, basket of bread. He stepped aside. Elena approached the table. Lorenzo looked up, his eyes narrowing. He was used to women trying to get his attention. Models, actresses, socialites. He had never seen a woman look like she wanted to be visible, while standing in the intimate spotlight. She didn't look at Lorenzo. She didn't look at the bodyguards. She looked only at Salvatore. The old man was still standing, chest heaving, indignant. He looked at the small girl who dared to interrupt his rage. For you, Salvatore barked. Another one with policy. Elena set the basket down. She didn't enter. She placed it directly in front of him. She poured the oil in. Fish, not fancy bottle oil, restaurant bush. Plain, greenish foam. Back. Then she jumped. She reached out. Moved wine glass. Fringe. The light. After gasp. The sidelines. Elena took a breath. The air in the room was like thunder. She knew. Spoke English. She was just a waitress. If she spoke Italian, she was just a... She had to go deeper. She had to go back. The dirt rose, and the blood rose. She clasped her hands under her apron, dropped her chin, spoke. Coscienza non mi capo, Ania capo, Musa, Gordon. Grazia. Grazia Vitale. The name hit the table like a grenade. Salvatore's face went pale. He gripped the edge of the table. Grazia, he whispered. The name seemed physically painful. Baker's daughter. One disappeared. His form. Elena nodded. She didn't disappear, Don Torre. She ran. She came here. She baked bread for 30 years. She died. Salvatore closed his eyes. A single tear leaked out of the corner of his eye. A sight terrified him in his warm gun. The crying of a monster. Helena linked with this. He opened his eyes and looked at the bed basket. He broke off a piece of the dust. He didn't. Gone. He took life. He chewed, closing his eyes again. It tastes like home. He mumbled. He opened his eyes and looked around, cowering by the hostess' manner. You, Salvatore roared, pointing a finger at the manager. Arthur jumped. Yes. Not Salvatore. This girl. Salvatore gestured to Elena. She is not a waitress tonight. Tonight she is. Arthur's jaw dropped. Their eyelids against the protocol staff cannot. Lorenzo cut in his voice. Deadly. Arthur, my father just invited a lady to dinner. Are you telling him no? No, of course not. Arthur saw you. Elena did. Elena froze. I can't. I shivered. Lorenzo stood up. He walked around the table. He was taller than we expected, and he smelled of expensive tobacco and rain. He pulled out the chair between him and his father. Elena. Lorenzo said his voice, low, vibrating in her chest. Nobody says no to Don Salvatore. And honestly, he looked her up and down, dark eyes, sparkling, pink, curiosity. I really want to know how a 20-year-old waitress in Manhattan knows dialect of a village that hasn't existed on a map for more than please. Elena looked at the chair. It was a trap.
They were, quick pony show, and his brother was out in Colorado. Because he was Mexican. Don't sit up. Pay a lot of dispatch. Well, all that was real. Had lines to beat the whole time. Said he was too unsure. We just undiagnosed. has undiagnosed Lyme disease. Yeah, 19 years. Yeah. So, like Dan 12 was too.
Elena looked at the chair. It was a trap. She knew it. By sitting there, she was entering their work. She was exposing her. But looking at the old man who was looking at her as if she were a resurrected saint, she knew she couldn't refuse. She untied her apron. She dropped it on the waiter station. She smoothed her. She sat down at the table of the Mafia King. The dinner that followed. The entire restaurant watched in covert silence as the shy waitress broke bread, letting private family. Salvatore answered. He asked her about the recipe of Francia. He asked if she knew the sponsors of the harvest. He asked about the specific way to fry tomatoes. He didn't ask about her life. He only cared about the connection to the past. Eleanor answered every question on growing. When she spoke the dialect, she wasn't a Elena waitress. She was the granddaughter of Francia Vitale. She had dignity. Lorenzo, however, was quiet. He ate slowly, his eyes never leaving Elena. It wasn't interested in the past. Recognizing her. During the last conversation, he poured wine into a glass. In an air of older than she was. Francia Vitale runs away in 1974. My father was what they were captain back then. A soldier of Salvatore, corrected his voice nostalgic. I was a soldier in the Corleonesi. Right, Lorenzo continued, burning his wine. She runs away. My people didn't just leave. Back then, Helena. Unless they were chased. Helena's or fighting. She wanted a different life. She didn't want to be Baker's daughter, ever. That's a lie. Lorenzo's been casual. It was fine. That's okay. You have used the life. Fine. Elena blushed. I'm not lying. You are. Lorenzo. Rather than she ran. She saw something. Or she took. Salvatore slapped his hand on the table, making Elena jump. Lorenzo, leave the girl alone. We are eating. I'm just making conversation. Papa, Lorenzo said a shark like Corinne. I'm trying to figure out why the granddaughter of a runaway baker speaks a dialect that is used as a code by the old guard. Elena's blood ran cold. He knew it's not a code. Elena said, her voice shaking slightly. Just language. It was a language. Lorenzo corrected. Now it's a shibboleth, a password. Only the families from the inner circle kept it alive to talk business, not the feds understanding. My father talked with me. His father talked with me. But a baker, no. A baker wouldn't know them all. Coscienza Venetica. That is what you say to a dog. That is not what you say to a customer. Lorenzo's gaze was piercing. He wasn't charmed by the photograph like his father. He was suspicious. Wait, really, Elena? Lorenzo asked, promptly, before Elena could answer. The air in the restaurant changed again. The heavy oak doors front of the restaurant burst. This time it wasn't a respectful entrance. Explain. They wore leather jackets and jeans and casual. They were loud. They were rushing. And the center was a man named a man had never run over the boards from New Jersey. He had been in production on Lorenzo territory. After this, he was rounded up and Russians. Security said, before Cobb held up a hand. Relax, boys. I am just here for a drink. He spotted the ready table. Smiles and then across his face. Waiting for the VIP platform. Salvatore didn't turn. He kept it. What has happened?
So, I just need to know Really
Lorenzo was buttoning his jacket, interrupting my father's the health hazard. I just wanted to pay respect. Volkov Bar
Why
said
did
it
you
was platform.
don't let
His men handed out the guide. The Moretti bodyguards said your one hands inside the jacket. Restaurant was the public
have
area.
a great day.
China will be replaced by showcasing. What bottles they have. Is this Lorenzo? Or just dessert? He reached out a hand to touch Elena's hair. It happened in a blur. Lorenzo grabbed Volkov's wrist in mid-air. Sound ripped with mortal bone. Right against bone. Touch her. Lorenzo's voice deadly calm. And he released the hand. Then the arm. Then the head. Volkov grimaced, trying to pull his hand back. But Lorenzo's grip was iron. You protect the waitress now. Already. You're getting soft. She is not a waitress. Not a tourist. The old man's done. He turns slowly to face Volkov. Small, Russian giant. His eyes, black holes. He is a guest at my table, Salvatore said. She is of Sicilian blood, specifically the blood of Corleone. Salvatore looked at Elena, then back at Volkov, and insisted. Salvatore continued. We have a saying, interrupt immediately. Elena, saying, she whispered, dialect. Understood, animal, money. Even his nerves and red dies of hunger. Salvatore smiled, terrifying, cold smile. Exactly. He nodded. Flash, lightning. Already guards, weapons. The Russians hesitated. They were outgunned, and they knew it. Volkov yanked his arm free from Lorenzo, rubbing his wrist. He glared at Elena with pure venom. This isn't over, Betty. Volkov. You go. Russians repeated, backing out. The tension slowly drained, leaving the diners shaking. Lorenzo sat back down, smoothing his boot. He looked at Elena. His expression had changed. The suspicion was still there, but it was mixed. Something else. Respect and possessiveness. You speak the threats well, too. Lorenzo said quietly. Who taught you that one? Elena looked at her hands. My father. Lorenzo paused. I thought you said your grandmother raised you. She did. Elena whispered. After my father. Who's your father? Salvatore asked. His voice was urgent now. Elena looked up. She looked at Salvatore, then at Lorenzo. She moved, going back, invisible. The Russians had seen her face. She was marked. My father, Elena said, her voice friendly, clear, was wasn't a waitress anymore. She was something.
He does. Been oscillated for weeks. Doesn't do anything. Absolutely nothing. say tired.